Hello everyone. This is a no damage run of Bloodstained Curse of the Moon on normal difficulty. A no commentary version of this run can be found in the pinned comment in the comments section below. So starting off, stage 1, just these ghouls coming out of the ground. They'll have like, what, 3 HP, something like that. Zangetsu's default sword has 4 attacks for 4, so pretty much everything dies in one shot in the first stage. The default weapon that we get is Ball and Chain, but Zangetsu's other weapons are the Ofuda, which lays out a black hole on the ground. Basically lays a trap for any advancing enemies. And also the Demon Essence, which adds an additional point of damage to your melee attacks, and is really only useful for like mid-stage enemies that take more than one hit. For this section here, we want the Ball and Chain. The purple candles always drop sub-weapons, so if you hit a purple candle, it is a guaranteed sub-weapon drop. For specifically the sub-weapon you want, so as long as you know which candle is going to drop which sub-weapon, depending on which character you attack it as, then you can plan in advance where to grab said sub-weapons. That's another Ball and Chain in that candle over there. So for these Bone Pillar type enemies, what we're going to do is we're going to wait for them to fire. Then that gives us just barely enough time to walk up and kill them in like 3 slashes. Pretty much every time you jump between cars, there's going to be these lost souls that just kind of pop up behind you, so the best thing for no damage in general is to just kind of separate the enemies and take them on one at a time where possible. The golem at the bottom, you can attack him with 2 whips and a sword, but the stage clears pretty quickly. So we're already at Glutton Train. To start, we can use Ball and Chain. It's 3 hearts for every strike. And it does, what, like 4 damage each, I think? I'm not entirely sure. If you go to the guides section on speedrun.com, there is a full write-up of enemy damage values done by Captain Brian. It's very, very useful. So what I'm doing here is, when he rains fireballs everywhere, is I'm standing on the 2nd step of the coal pile, and then I wait for a fireball to hit the 3rd step of the coal pile, and then I just jump on top. So, you can see the fireball is hitting to the left, I jump, and then the 2nd coal pile is the last one. I'm just like kind of slashing 4 times, step backwards, slash 4 more times, then wait, sit on the ground. Bosses in this game have desperation attacks, like the bosses do in Castlevania Rondo of Blood. But none of the desperation attacks actually kill you in this game, with the exception of the Stage 4 boss, Valak, whose desperation attack is basically just like another phase overall. So given that this is not a Zangetsu-only run, I'm going for like the full Castlevania 3 style playthrough here. Gonna go ahead and get all the characters. So this playthrough, I did it in chunks. It's not a single segment run. I was planning on doing that on Ultimate mode. But for now, I'm just doing no damage for normal mode and nightmare mode. No damage with saves, that is. But anyway, switch over to Miriam, because there's a lot of really high up enemies, and Miriam's whip actually has a lot of active damage frames. It does about the same damage as Zangetsu's sword, but it stays out for a lot longer, so Miriam has a lot more active damage frames with which to take advantage of, and the range is pretty good too. She also has a slide that you can use by hitting down and jump. And I just kind of slid under those stairs and got around those other two shield knights. So for this, while we're fighting up the stream, there's these frogs in the water, and if you see yellow eyes, then they're going to jump out of the water. So those are the ones that you absolutely have to watch out for. Definitely want to keep Miriam's whip equipped. You go down these stairs here and just kind of whip these Venus flytraps or clam girls. I don't even know what they are. And then we'll use Miriam's rapier sub-weapon against the Lost Souls coming out. Over here is where we're going to use Zangetsu's Demon Essence. As long as there's Zangetsu and you hit that candle, you will always get a Demon Essence from there. Demon Essence, as I said earlier, adds an additional point of damage. And as these guys are coming down, we're just going to, like, whip. Because, again, Miriam's got crazy active damage frames. The green archers, they fire 3 arrows. 1, 2, 3, jump. 1, 2, 3, jump. And then just hit them. It's actually recommended that you use Demon Essence on those guys. For those golems there, they all die in like 1 hit from Miriam's axe. But right about here, we want to have as much weapon points as we can. You can see that I picked up a weapon point upgrade earlier by whipping up in a hole and sliding into it. So now we have 30 weapon points instead of 20. Miriam's axe is definitely the strongest sub-weapon in the game as far as damage values are concerned. We're going to start by walking all the way forward, as far forward as we can. Then we're going to crouch and just whip as much as humanly possible. Then the boss is going to rush down, and then 3 rock drops, and then he's going to drop down here. We're just going to hide in this corner over here. And then when he's done transforming, 1, 2, 3, 4 axes. But we got to stand like under his rear fin so that the bubbles do not spawn on top of us. Then we're going to switch over to Zangetsu, going to stand exactly in this position. And the second the rumbling gets like its absolute most intense is when we're going to mash the fuck out of the B button. Or the attack button. And that setup, I've found, has pretty good success against that desperation attack. Compared to like trying to time out the jumping method. So, stage 3. The pyramid stage, or the ruin stage. It looks like a freaking pyramid. Just like no reason whatsoever. Start with Miriam and just like get rid of these get rid of these cats. That's what they are. They're called red cats, I think. And then for this room, we're gonna be we're gonna use Alfred, and we're gonna use Fire Wheel. They die in basically they die on contact with the Fire Wheel, so Alfred is like invaluable for the stage. If you get a sub-weapon that you don't want to pick up, then you can just switch to another character. Like if there's a sub-weapon dropping in front of you that you don't want to pick up, then you can just switch to another character and just like never pick it up. But one of the other advantages to using Flame Wheel is, aside from, you know, having the cats drop on top of you and just die instantly, it can also absorb the fire from the green and blue archers. Which is good, because no standard attack can actually deflect those arrows fast enough. Gonna be Miriam for this section. We're gonna slide under. We're not gonna bother with these flying pigs or whatever they're called. I actually do not know the official names of these enemies yet. Fireball also kills these bats in one shot. I think the bats actually don't have much HP overall. Certainly enough to kill them in one shot with Alfred. There's an ice spell in the candle on the right, but we still want to keep fire up until the end. Although there is a great weapon combo that makes very short work of bosses by having Alfred use ice and axe. I'll be showing that off in later stages, but because I want to dodge the desperation attack of the boss in stage 3, I keep the Flame Wheel spell for specifically that, and just kind of keep Flame Wheel going. For the most part, I could have. I think it would have been a lot safer to use Flame Wheel there and just like kind of chill. But Miriam's Whip still works just as well. The hitbox extends up and down a little bit more than it looks, so it's actually really good. Just getting some extra power-ups from these candles. Hearts restore your HP. The vases restore your weapon points. There's an ice spell in the candle up there. Also, there's these Medusa head enemies, basically. They actually move in a much tighter sine wave. Wanted to make sure that I could avoid them. I'm not sure if they die in one shot to Flame Wheel or not. It probably would have been smarter for me to just use Flame Wheel there. Something to check and make sure. So the third boss, Veilfor, aka Scrooge McDuck's Money Bin. Takes the most damage on the head, so we're going to use Miriam, get to the top of the money pile, and just axe the shit out of it. Try not to fall into the hands, because the hands do cause damage. And so does getting crushed by the coins. That was not a very good pile of money there. But anyway, once you've triggered the desperation attack, you want to use Alfred's Fireball, because once the screen flashes completely white, then it may become impossible to dodge some of the coins. I mean, it's a very specific path, so you could totally do it without Alfred's Fireball, but if you don't know what you're doing, like I did around the time I was recording this, I used Alfred's Fireballs to deflect the coins. So now we have Jeeble, who is basically Alucard in Castlevania 3 and can fly around. Stage 4 is pretty much a Jeeble stage. Jeeble's bats do 3 damage on contact with the first bat, and for every bat afterwards is 1 damage. If you use Zangetsu's Demon Essence with the bats, then they only do 1 extra point on the first bat, as opposed to 1 extra point on all 3 bats. Otherwise, Jeeble's physical attack would be, like, really OP. Though it is pretty good. I mean, if all 3 bats connect, it is definitely the strongest melee attack in the game. In order to hit the candles while you are using the Bat Crash, I believe it's called Blood Siphon in this game, but I just call it Wing Smash. I call it Bat Crash Wing Smash. I don't know. I kept wanting to call it like whatever the Symphony of the Night name was, but it's just called Siphon Blood in this game. One other point of interest of Jeeble is whenever you hit purple candles with the bat, or with just Jeeble's bats in general, it gives you a 5-weapon energy instead of a sub-weapon, because Jeeble doesn't have any sub-weapons otherwise. So for this room with the purple wolves and the green archers, we're just gonna kind of go nice and slow, use Jeeble's anti-air to just like sort of take these guys out one at a time. And grab that. I believe the safer route overall was to head to the right, as I do, because this way there's going to be some birds that are dropping frogs, and if you go up, then there's going to be a bunch of platforms in the way of the birds dropping the frogs, kind of making it a lot more difficult to attack them physically. So if you don't have Fire Wheel, then it's better to take this path for sure. But if you do have Fire Wheel, then you take the upstairs path, and it all converges into this room anyway. At the end of that, the purple wolf over here, we're just gonna kind of slowly move up to it just a little bit, kind of take the enemies out one at a time. Just gotta be nice and slow. Moving up here, there's going to be these red axemen. Just got to avoid the axes. They only throw like 1 axe at a time. Later axemen throw 2 axes, like the gray axemen throw 2 axes. But meanwhile, we can just kind of chill out down here. This guy's going to advance, and we're just going to ball and chain him in the face. I am going to want to get the ice spell before I head to the boss, though. Show you what I was talking about. Use Miriam's high jump to get to this platform, or you can fly up there, pick your poison. Now we're done with that. Gonna start using the fireball spell, which I think makes you immune to the flames on the ground, but I'm not entirely sure. But it definitely makes you immune to the frogs. I just kind of wait for the flames to be done. Then we're gonna switch to Alfred at the top, so that we can get the ice spell from the purple candle at the very top. But basically the ice spell just immobilizes most, if not all, of the bosses. Actually, it immobilizes pretty much every boss except for the final boss. But an added perk of the ice spell is that it also allows whatever attack you do to a frozen enemy to do double damage. It also freezes projectiles in place, including Miriam's sickles. I haven't practiced the icicle tech yet. I think it was Captain Brian who figured that out. But the icicle is probably a better strat to use against Valak over here. But as you can see, I froze both heads, and then I walked up, and then I hit it, smacked him with the axe, and it did 50 damage to each individual head, just like killing both of them. And we just basically do the same here. As long as I come in with like full hearts. I think it's like, what, 11 points to do one ice axe? I still don't have a full handle on it yet. So next, stage 5. Is Ice Axe the highest damage in the game? That's debatable. So throughout this stage, we're actually going to be using Demon Essence and Whip quite a bit, because these guys have a lot of range. I generally don't feel comfortable using Zangetsu for more than just like sub weapons, because his range, unless you're playing a Zangetsu only run and you actually have a powered up Zangetsu, is pretty low. It's pretty abysmal. So these spiders in the boxes over here, you just gotta kind of get up to the edge before they start shooting web. Try to farm up as many hearts as possible so that we can fly through as much of the stage as we can. Just like, generally don't worry about, you know, whether you're using too many hearts or not if you're flying around with Jeeble. So this sea parasite, whatever it is, it can't obviously obviously you can see it can't lunge its purple sputum over the edge, so just kind of freezing these guys as I go along. There's two types of those sea parasites, the jumping ones and the ones that shoot projectiles. We encountered the jumping ones earlier. The projectile ones, you kind of have to wait before you can move. So if you have like a combination of both of them, as we're going to see later, it's definitely better to take out the jumping ones first, because those are the ones that can actually like fuck up your spacing. If you get if you get grabbed by the painting, it's like the funniest fucking shit ever. Because like you get grabbed and the painting's like, la, 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 la. Like, I fucking got you. It's like the same kind of scary you'd see in like an 80s, like a scary movie, like a PG-rated scary movie from like the 80s or something. As you can see, these guys, they just like don't move at all. But if you're on the same or lower elevation, then you either have to wait before you can move, or you can freeze them and get rid of them. I only had to freeze like one of them in this room. But using Demon Essence is necessary if you want to kill them in one shot. This guy over here, he's just dead. Also a heart power-up. These heart power-ups, the big glowing ones, just increase the max HP for all characters. While we're under this guy, we're gonna just use bats because all of his all of his arcing axes are like far range. The green archer here, we can just fly right behind him and kill him. They generally only look in a specific direction. There's going to be some double hammerheads here, so gotta kind of be careful. I usually like to have 40 weapon energy here just in case, but Stage 5 boss, he likes to move around a lot. I usually like to be Miriam for the first phase of the cycle, so that when these things come out, because you know we're getting the wind is blowing, so we're getting blown around. I can just throw ice, and then as soon as we use the axe, after using the ice, we gotta crouch because he's going to use freaking Storm Eagle tech or whatever. This boss is literally Storm Eagle from Mega Man X. He's gonna zap, 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 and then we're gonna fly because he's gonna like do an attack that takes up half the screen. And then we're just gonna sit over here. There's lightning on the right. There's lightning in the center. As long as we stay here, we just keep tapping left. All clean. All bosses have a desperation attack, yes. Although whether Valak's transformation as a desperation attack is pretty debatable. I wouldn't call it a desperation attack, actually. It's not a desperation attack. All bosses except the Stage 4 boss have a desperation attack. So these guys are... we see the shield guys again, and then there's these things, these new things that are just like floating around. I like to have Demon Essence because it just kills those guys in one shot. A lot of tougher enemies here. We're gonna switch over to Alfred and get Lightning this time around. So we're doing half the stage without ice. I'd say that stage 6 is probably the hardest stage to get no damage on. Just gonna jump under this guy and just hit him in the foot till he dies. These guys are just gonna throw axes, but they kind of back off if you face them. I'm not entirely sure like what the AI pattern is, but pretty consistently, if I try to use physical attacks, these guys are always backing up. More than likely so that they can actually hit you. But they usually back into a wall, and I can usually just snipe them from below with Jeebel's bats. Over here, we're going to switch to Miriam, slide under. Hit that. It's actually a lot safer to just fly over that, because otherwise your jump has to be kind of pixel perfect. I just go ahead and use a bunch of weapon energy because the cats drop down and there's buzzsaws on the ground, so that's a pretty good room to fly through. So the Scissor Man over here, there's a particular rule for dodging the attack. Like you can hear the clinging when it announces itself. I'll get into that later. So for here, we want to sit over here on this middle platform, this taller platform here, and then fire three voltaic rays, which are the lightning spell that Alfred has. Just get rid of these projectile lobbers. Sometimes there can be cats, sometimes these caskets can fall, but it's always the same every time you go through this level. So if you know which ones are going to drop cats and which ones are going to drop themselves and try to crush you, then you know which ones to attack and which ones to wait for enemies to pop out of. There's like 2 rooms like this. So these bunny girls, when they're plummeting down, you want to jump because the hearts that they fart out of their butts actually do damage, so gonna slowly levitate up here. There's another room here with a bunch of bats and buzzsaws. Just as long as you take it slowly, it's not a big deal. Just hit that. It's gonna go over here, and we're just gonna go here, and boom. The blue archers here can be taken out with 1 voltaic ray each. Here's another room with the Scissor Man. As I was talking about, there's like a certain noise you have to listen for. It's like ting ting ting, and then when you get close enough, you're gonna hear another set of ting 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 ting. Like when they raise the scissors up. Like the second you hear like the second ting 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 ting, that's when you jump over them and then you reverse and whip the other direction. So what I do here is I try to stay under the floor on the stairs so that I can take out the first Hammer Knight. Also, I got mad lucky with all these Dulla Hammer dodges. Do not do what I was doing here. But I was actually trying to farm up as much weapon energy as I could so that I could avoid the boss, Bloodless's final attack and not have to worry about parasols or anything. Oh man. I was just like dodging projectiles like raindrops here. What the hell was I even doing? I should have just stayed bat and like hit the lower part of the candles so that the power up, or so that the weapon energy would have dropped on top of me. It would have been a nice, clean break through the room. And I'm definitely going to remember that next time. So Bloodless over here. Voltaic Ray just makes Bloodless completely free. Like 2, 3 Voltaic Rays is good enough. But I still came up short on weapon energy. And so this is where I decided to stop the umbrellas. Switch over to Jeeble and stay up top. And you gotta hit the face in the tornado in order to dodge that attack. Stage 7, pretty fucking awesome music. So these guys, whenever they plummet a specific distance, they're always like moving in the same trajectory, the frogs are. These blue archers here, they only fire like 3 arrows per shot, but later archers are going to fire a lot more. Keeping Voltaic Ray for now. Just gonna slowly making our way up. There's 5 weapon points in that candle there, so keep that. 1 Voltaic Ray is enough to take out each of these gray axemen. And once again, there's this guy here. Hit that with Jeeble's bats. That's the last candle in the room that is actually worth it. That other candle just has like 1 weapon point. You'd just be spending a weapon point to gain a weapon point. It's not worth it. Because we picked up the gauntlet earlier, I didn't mention it, but there's a gauntlet that gives you an additional point of melee damage. Jeeble's bats and Miriam's whip will kill them in 1 shot. Over here, farming up a little bit of weapon energy, then we're going to fly up here and hit the lip, and then we're going to dash. It's a very, very tight angle, but it is pretty consistent within reason. I'd say that that trick is all human error if you mess it up. But you can dash through and hit the archer every time. Yeah, this room. Fuck this room. Just gonna switch over to Jeeble. Geberu. That's not Jeeble. Actually, in the interview with the voice actors, his name is pronounced Jeeble, so that's why I pronounce his name Jeeble, even though in the Japanese version it would be Geberu. So, truth of the matter is, I have no idea how his name is pronounced. The English voice cast pronounces it Jeeble. Even in the trailer for this game, they pronounce it Jeeble. There's talking in this game. This is a retro. This is like a retro Kickstarter bonus for the actual game. This is not the actual Bloodstained game. This is a Bloodstained game, just not Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is supposed to be like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Speak of the devil, sup, Iga? I like that pretty much every game that has like Iga's name on it has like some sort of weird, like surrealist, like everything you know is wrong sort of way about the game physics. So there's a shortcut here. We're gonna freeze this Griffin Rider over here. I'm gonna go up here and get these weapon energy, then we're gonna switch over to Miriam, smack that with the axe, because you need the axe in order to open that. And the rest of the stage here is pretty free. It like cuts off a pretty big chunk of the stage, but you need the axe in order to get through it. Also, 40 weapon energy is good for this room. I stay as high as I can. These fairies just like bounce off everywhere and they just kind of go low. I haven't really seen an instance where they go high. They probably only go high if they hit the bottom of the screen, so I just waited for them to sink lower before I made an attempt to go up the stairs. Axeman over here. It's another room with Axemen and Dullahammer heads. So, just gonna freeze him. Move on. $40 sub-weapon energy. As soon as we climb up here, you definitely want to freeze these Hammer Knights. They function like exactly the same way as the axe armors from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Hammer goes out, hammer comes back in. Boss over here. We're just going to use Ice Axe exactly 3 times. Just make sure that he can't leave. Then we gotta jump on the center platform here, and he's gonna jump around, and then see you later. Okay, so it's 10 weapon energy each for each Ice Axe. Like 4 to freeze an enemy, and 6 for the axe. Bathen is the name of the boss. Yes, Bathen. So stage 8, we're going to get the Ball and Chain for Zangetsu. The pattern for these chandeliers here was kind of tough to describe. And stage moving a little fast, trying to keep up. These guys have the exact same pattern as those Scissor Men from earlier. Once they raise their sword, that's like when you want to jump. I'll switch over to Alfred here, then we're going to take the Fireball, and before this platform over here, we're going to activate Fireball, which will shield us from the stained glass enemies. Of course, I messed this up. I was actually supposed to kill the ghoul, walk to the right, trigger that set of stained glass, hit the Fireball, and then grab the ice from the candle there, and then go through while the Fireball was still active, which is the speedrun strategy, but unfortunately I messed it up, so I have to go around, which is going to lead us to the same room anyway. This candle is going to be another ice spell. Freeze him. Kind of working with limited weapon energy here, but it's not that bad, all things considered. As soon as you enter this room, there's going to be a timer before a gigantic wall of stained glass comes out and tries to fuck you in the ass. If you hit the candle and you got the 5 weapon energy from the candle that I hit earlier, right after the 1-up, then you can go through this right door, otherwise you gotta go down and move a little further. So, while we're here, I'm just staying as Jeeble, because if I switch over to Miriam and try to do jumps otherwise, then the stained glass will catch up to me way too fast, because Miriam's jump is a lot higher, and therefore it lasts longer. So when you're trying to gain elevation in that particular room, using Miriam is not a good idea. And here, hit Fireball, switch to Jeeble. That candle has a clone spell inside of it, and we don't want to get that as Alfred, so that's why I switched over to Jeeble, so that I had the so that when the Fireball would break it, it would just turn into weapon energy instead. I'm going to switch over here, get the ice, max out our weapon energy. Then we're moving on to the second to last boss. Technically the final boss, but it's the first phase, second to last boss, whatever. Grimoire 1. We're going to freeze it. We're going to jump on this platform here. Boom, 1, freeze 2. Boom, freeze 3. Dead. For Grimoire 2, I just stay as Zangetsu the whole time. The reason for this is because Zangetsu's attack is exactly the correct number of damage frames to be able to recover fast enough in order to be able to slash the projectiles, pick up weapon energy drops, stuff like that. So the first phase is the 3/4 moon phase, and these crescent moons are going to home in directly onto you, so whichever is spinning faster, you move on the opposite side of the platform, and when they come in, you just hit them. Exactly enough frames, exactly enough hitbox in order to hit all of them. First 2 spears, I'm just going to hit the eye. I'm just going to hit the eyes and climb up, and then we're going to go exactly to the edge of one of the top platforms in order to hit the moon jewel or whatever it is. Again, 3/4 moon phase. This is going to repeat a couple of times, but we can't really damage him with any other character other than Alfred if we had the Voltaic Ray, or with Miriam if we use like rapiers and whip. But I think the most efficient way to do it while Alfred does not have Voltaic Ray is to just use Zangetsu here. I'm just going to stand on the edge, and then once the platform below you is destroyed, below me, below you, second person pronouns, whatever. Once that platform is destroyed, we're just going to jump over the Fireball. Once again, homing in. I'm pretty sure that Yeah, there it is. Okay. So the laser on the ground, whenever it sweeps from... Like, whenever it sweeps, it's going to sweep from farther away to closer. And the big explosion thing that's kind of shaped like a heart at the bottom, that's the actual hitbox. So the hitbox looks a lot bigger than it actually is. We got the Final Fantasy VII attack going on here. You just have to kind of jump at the bottom whenever the things come up. You have to do it exactly once on normal mode, and then move to the right to get around them. The Crescent Moon phase is just yellow ones that just kind of slowly advance, and you just have to slash them. Kind of like jump slash at the same time. Pretty sure this is almost it. It's like one more phase. Yeah. Once again, jump, and then get ready to move right. That Final Fantasy VII, and then there's going to be another Crescent Moon, starting with the right, then the left, then the right, then the left. Full Moon phase again. First two spears. Hit the eye as it spawns. Climb up. Get more sub-weapon energy. Those lanterns on the side all have 5 sub-weapon points, and that's it. That is normal mode. Cleared without taking a single hit. I'll have Nightmare Mode uploaded probably within the next couple of weeks, if I'm not doing speedruns. Either that or Zangetsu only. I haven't decided yet, because I do need to do Zangetsu only in order to unlock Ultimate Mode. So a huge shout out to the Bloodstained speedrunning community for all the research they've done. Especially Captain Brian, Stryzer, Comrade Control, Scavenger, Master of the Run, Laxus, and Dark CO for their support. I'll actually include a link to the Bloodstained Discord, the Bloodstained speedrunning Discord in the comment section below as well, if anyone is interested in picking this game up. And you should, because it is a fucking badass speed game. Also, if you're new to my YouTube channel, you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. It's probably not going to matter too much. I just appreciate you watching. But also go follow my Twitch channel. I stream on Twitch full-time at twitch.tv/CarcinogenSDA. So, until next time, thank you very much for watching.